Thank you, Madam President, Senator Alexander, Senator Collins. Thank you for your leadership on this issue. It is good to see Democrats and Republicans working together on something. Unfortunately, like many of the things we work on, we're dealing with symptoms of a much deeper problem that we fail to recognize. The reason we've gone from a few hundred confirmations during President Kennedy's time to thousands today is because of the incredible exponential growth of the federal government. New departments everywhere where we have new positions that have to be filled with nominees who are confirmed by the Senate. Rather than to look at this behemoth that we've created, instead we're moving to make it somewhat less accountable. I appreciate the rationale behind this, but I do think we have to recognize when we're treating symptoms and not really solving the problem that has led to much of the debt, the spending, and really out of control Congress and congressional interventions, because all of these agencies invade on the private sector. But I do appreciate the opportunity to speak and to offer an amendment. And the amendment we'll be voting on in a few minutes does relate to the International Monetary Fund. This is a fund set up years ago to help struggling poor nations who get themselves in trouble. The United States has been the largest contributor for years. But it's gone from being an international agency that helped a limited number of difficult situations to one that's now huge, that has access to Americans, our general fund. And that's what I want to talk about today, because my amendment would deauthorize what we did in 2009 to open our bank account to bailouts all over the world. Americans have gotten plenty tired of our spending and our borrowing, and particularly the bailouts that they've seen from Washington, and how these bailouts have not worked, but often made things worse. But the International Bailout Fund is the International Monetary Fund. And in 2009, this Congress passed an additional $100 billion credit line to the International Monetary Fund. This can be drawn on without any congressional approval, without the President's approval. It's an open checkbook, in effect, that the International Monetary Fund can use, and they will use during these difficult times as we see irresponsible nations like Greece who need international funds to continue their profligate spending. We've got to deauthorize this. Our country is in dire straits, close to bankruptcy ourselves. The President is asking us for the fourth time to increase the debt limit of our nation so we can borrow another $2 trillion on top of the $14 trillion that we've already borrowed. We cannot afford to let the International Monetary Fund, who we found in the last month has some questionable management practices, to access $100 billion more than they already have of our money and help bail out countries all over the world who have failed to make the difficult decisions. And don't think for a moment this is helping the poor in other countries. This is a bailout for the big banks around the world who've made loans to government and now expect the International Monetary Fund to back them up. Americans had enough of that during our own Wall Street bailouts. But this Congress has approved $100 billion more, which has not been accessed yet, but it's available to the International Monetary Fund right now without our permission. But we can stop that today with this amendment. There is no excuse for us giving away money around the world when we cannot even keep our promises here in America today. Promises we've made to our seniors, promises we've made to veterans. So I encourage my colleagues to maybe do one responsible fiscal thing in this session of Congress and at least put this on hold. Let's stop this authorized $100 billion for international bailouts.